Alright, welcome to another part of my World Cup preview series. We're going to talk a bit about Group G and what's been going on there. Group G, of course, contains Brazil, North Korea, Ivory Coast, and Portugal. Now, beforehand, we knew that the Brazil game was probably going to be one-sided. Brazil was going to be the better team. They did dominate, but they still had quite a narrow win, 2-1. I predicted it to be 3-0, but North Korea was better than I thought. And with a good attack, they actually managed to score. So I think they had a performance to be proud of, and they did quite all right against a world-class team. Brazil wasn't brilliant, but they did enough. They managed to win. Maicon scored a good goal, and they got the 3 points. The other game, Ivory Coast, Portugal, I knew it was going to be close. I thought Portugal was slightly disappointing. I expected Portugal to be more experienced and to be better organized than Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast, of course, did have great individual skill, but I expected it to either be a draw or a narrow win for Portugal. But having seen the game, I would say that Ivory Coast could have won it. But unfortunately for them, it was 0-0, which means Portugal was still in it. And of course, the next game, Portugal is playing North Korea and Brazil is playing Ivory Coast. Now, Ivory Coast, might be able to cause Brazil some problems. I don't know. I thought Brazil wasn't very convincing against North Korea. But it's tough to say how good North Korea is. We'll have to see the other games. Maybe North Korea will be able to cause Portugal and Ivory Coast problems as well. In that case, this will definitely be an interesting group. But for now, I'm still considering that all teams will be able to beat North Korea. I got Portugal beating them 2-0 in the second game. And then, it's all down to what will Ivory Coast and Portugal do against Brazil. Well, if Ivory Coast can get a draw, then, that could push them through to the second round. If they then beat North Korea in the last game. But it's going to be difficult. You would have to expect Brazil to be the better team. Brazil, of course, doesn't want to draw because if they do draw, that means they need a result against Portugal in the final game. And I think they'd rather do without that type of pressure. But it certainly isn't impossible. I wouldn't be too surprised if it was 1-1. But I would have to say Brazil probably should be able to win. I predicted before the tournament they would win against Ivory Coast 2-1, so I'm going to stick with it. I think it's quite likely Brazil beating Ivory Coast 2-1, but Portugal did make the impression of being slightly old. Deco is really past his prime. Ricardo Carvalho isn't the world-class defender he was a few years ago. Portugal really is even Cristiano Ronaldo, he's preoccupied with himself and his ego, it seems to me, mostly. And Portugal didn't really make the impact of a great team. So that means I think Ivory Coast have a decent chance of getting through because I think Portugal will lose against Brazil, having seen the first game. But we'll have to wait and see. Ivory Coast did better than I thought. But it was a draw against Portugal, so who knows. But, anyway, games coming up. Portugal against North Korea, I'm saying 2-0. And Brazil, Ivory Coast could be a draw, but I'm going to stick with Brazil winning 2-1. Alright, that's it for me analyzing the situation in Group G. Alright, thank you.